I'm about to make everyone mad. And this is something that popped into my head over the weekend. And I'm not trying to be incendiary. Yes. But I
Of
am.
course you are.
How do I say that? But I am asking the question because when it popped up, I thought about it because the question revolved around in the NFL, would you rather have a great quarterback, a great owner, a great GM? And I think that with the exception of a couple of owners, it's a great quarterback. So the San Diego Chargers have that. They in Justin Herbert. They're looking for a new coach. I have no reason to believe that Josh Heupel is anywhere on this list. But I do want to ask the question because this is the kind of job that I believe eventually, when he has enough success, that he might very well jump for at some point. So the question may sound a little out of left field. That's why it's called with H.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Should Josh Heupel be on the Chargers' radar as they look for a new head coach? And do you think that Josh Heupel will have any interest? I was told, now this is a year old, but I was told by an NFL scout that he would be welcomed into the NFL because, as Caleb has pointed out, he's changed his offense. He's been malleable. He's transformed when he's needed to. And I think at one point, an NFL team is going to make a serious run at him if he has the type of success with Nico as we believe he will. So I ask you that question, John. Should he be on the Chargers' long list at the very least? And it's brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. We want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals, a Tennessee tradition? RickTerryJewelry.com. John, what do you think?
Yes, I certainly do. Very creative offensively, and as you pointed out, he's tweaked his system when needed. I think he kind of has an NFL demeanor. NFL guys are now looking for offensive-minded coaches. Defense kind of is really done well this year in the NFL. So I think there's a need for offensive coaches in that league right now, and I think he would be somebody. I think he's very I think he's very businesslike in his approach. I think he's pretty even keel the way he manages a program. So yeah, I think he should be on the NFL's radar.
Caleb?
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say here's why. You brought up, John, why defenses are so much better in the NFL right now. There's a big reason why defenses are getting a lot better in the NFL, and it's because we have had now, I'd say, a decade's worth of, at the college level, most programs being system programs rather than development programs, if that makes sense. There's very few David Cutcliffes anymore who really develop you for the NFL. It's let's run the system and maximize your talent. That idea has crept into the NFL now with the Cliff Kingsburys of the world. Let's get the system rather than the development. Well, what happens with that? Quarterbacks, more than ever, are missing the most easy, basic throws. And that's why red zone offenses are transcendently bad now. And quite honestly, I think what Josh Heupel does is great for college. I just don't think it's good for the NFL because of that. I think it's the same issue that you saw with every Spurrier quarterback that ever tried himself in the NFL. Outside of Rex Grossman, they were all utter failures. I mean, Rex Grossman also, it's still funny that he got to a Super Bowl because he was not a good quarterback in the NFL. But, I think for the most part, I think the NFL is oversaturated right now with offensive systems that haven't focused enough on player development. And I'm not saying Josh Heupel doesn't develop players, but he develops them at the college level. And he doesn't necessarily with his system does not develop quarterbacks to make the easy throws. This is why Tom Brady was able to last so long, by the way, in the NFL. Tom Brady never missed on the easy throws when you have a whole generation of quarterbacks now that, on a 5-yard hitch route in the red zone, they can't make the throw. Now,
let me ask you this, John, because Smoky Mountain Red, in reference to the Lane Kiffin move, says couch, mattress, lighter fluid. And I was in the midst of that near riot covering that thing. And and Tennessee found itself in a position where they could only hire Derek Dooley. But I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm saying a couple of years from now. Do you think Tennessee, pardon me, will have any trouble hiring a head coach or even comparable to when they got stuck with Dooley, got stuck with Pruitt? I think the program's built to another level now. And I know everybody loves Josh Heupel right now, and you should, but he's not going to be Tennessee's coach for the next 100 years. At some point, he's going to either retire or leave. So I don't think Tennessee would have trouble hiring an elite coach right now if Josh Heupel ever decided to leave.
I'm not so sure about that. You look at Tennessee's history of hiring coaches. How many really good ones has it hired?
Yeah, but
Not
John,
that
most of
many.
those times.
Yeah, but how many goofballs did they have in charge of the hiring?
Yeah, that's
Well, yeah, and Danny White does have a good history of hiring coaches, but has he hired a coach at this level? Yeah, they're paying Josh Heupel $9 million. You're going to go after $9 million. $9 million coach. I don't know how. I think coaches look at the SEC right now, coaches outside the league, and wonder what is it going to be like when you go to a 16-team league. When you're competing, you add Texas and Oklahoma. I wonder how they view Tennessee, its staying power in an enhanced SEC. I don't know. I mean, I think Tennessee can be very successful. It has what it takes to be successful, but I wonder if some top of the line coaches would look at that and say, I'm not sure I can win a championship there. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU because he thought he could win a national championship there. Would Brian Kelly at Notre Dame come to Tennessee thinking, oh, yeah, that's a place I could win a national championship? I don't know how that would be perceived.
I think I have a pretty good Brian Kelly type of scenario. Okay, so Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, and at Notre Dame, you don't get to make a lot of the decisions in discipline. You don't get to make a lot of the decisions in admittance. So, Caleb, who would be the beloved coach that is at a job that Tennessee could provide more? I'm going to throw Dan Lanning out because somebody did on the message board.
That's who I thought of, Dave.
Yeah, but could you call? I'm going to ask you, Caleb, and then John, could you call a Dan Lanning, somebody that's having success at a Power 5 program, and have him interested in potentially hire him, Caleb?
I think you could. I think that Phil Knight has made it his life's goal to see Oregon win a national title before he passes away. And Phil Knight, to his credit, is not Jimmy Haslam. From everything I understand, he stays away from the program. He just writes the checks. And if the coach doesn't perform, he'll say fire him. But he does let I think he does let the athletic director do the hire and everything like that. He just opens up the checkbook for whatever they need. And so I think that might be a little bit more difficult because if you're Oregon, you have the leeway to do what you want to do as a coach. And you got a booster who is what you guys used to say about Big Jim Haslam, best booster possible. Phil Knight opens up the check. He builds every facility possible. He does everything he can to promote Oregon, but he doesn't insert himself into the day-to-day football operations. And I think that's the type of booster you want. Whereas, so I don't know if Tennessee could actually get somebody from a sweet gig unless it's a smaller school and the allure of coaching at Tennessee is just too much compared to where they're at. You know, Brian Kelly, guys, LSU, not only is the talent amazing in Louisiana, I don't think LSU has ever gave a lick about academics when it comes to preparing for their football program. They've been notorious about that. They had the eye of the tiger off center one time in midfield? Just a joke about LSU. But I think that and the talent base is not in Tennessee what it is in LSU. Now the NIL is there, but I don't think it'd be as easy to lure Dan Lanning away from Oregon in an age of NIL if you're Tennessee. But John, I will push. I
think it would. I think there's more NIL money at play in Knoxville than there is in Eugene. The athletic budget, I think, is about $30 million more. I think you're referring to Phil Knight, of course, at Oregon. I think Phil likes it as a little play toy to market his products. I don't know that he's as great of an impact of a booster as we think he is. So John, could could you call Dan Lanning, or I'm not talking about somebody, basically I'm talking about somebody that has their team contending for a national championship, but hasn't won one yet, because those guys are tough to pull away, and Tennessee would be considered a better job. I think Tennessee is a much better job than Oregon. I think it's a much better job than a lot of places that are having success. I think Tennessee could come up with a dream. What did the dream list used to be? Gruden, Lane Kiffin again. Those were stupid lists. But I think a real list of potential candidates would include big name coaches on it. I think it is totally transformed from pre-Danny White to post-Danny White. I have no reason to think Josh Heupel's leaving. I'm just saying, if they had to go down that path again, I think it would be a whole different narrative.
Yeah, first I need to respond to Caleb's assault on LSU's academic standards since I graduated from there. They didn't care about academics in journalism school either. I did very well. I had a great high grade point average. They just didn't care.
I never targeted the students. I was talking about the athletes. I didn't know that they were.
No, I was a columnist there for 5 years, and usually I can still remember a summer bus tour where I don't know, there were about 12, 13 athletes on it. They went up to the East Coast, I believe, and got 13 hours credit in botany, history, whatever. So, yeah, it's a good place to pile up some grades and credits. I guess I look at Oregon. I look at Dan Lanning in Oregon and think, I don't think he looks at Tennessee the way you do, Dave. He was at Georgia. I don't think he looks at Tennessee and says, I can win a national championship there. I mean, Tennessee won one 25 years ago. And I agree, it's a much better situation than it was. It's got really competent leadership from President Randy Boyd, Chancellor Donde Plowman, Athletic Director Danny White. But still, when you look at that track record, would you take a job at Tennessee over Texas, Alabama, Georgia, LSU? I don't know. Here's a litmus
Well,
test.
wait, John. You just named a bunch of states with in-state talent galore. Oregon is
Well,
not that.
you get to use in-state talent.
Okay, but Oregon is not that. I mean, you
Oh,
gave me three.
okay.
You gave me three very tough ones.
Oh, okay. That's good. Here's a factor to me. If I were coaching Oregon,
John goes, oh, okay, that's good. The most dismissive compliment ever.
Sorry, Dave. I didn't know you were going to be Sally sensitive on me. Oregon, here's the thing. If I'm a coach at Oregon, I really don't want to be flying east every other Saturday. I just, all those plane rides, I don't like being in the Big Ten. For that reason, if I had a chance to come to Tennessee, that would be a big factor in my decision. I would definitely weigh that.
John's favorite player of all time, any athlete, I believe, is Roberto Clemente. Is that correct, John?
Yes.
I bet they have memorabilia there at Sports Treasures of Roberto Clemente, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia. They send out daily updates. Just go to Facebook and follow them at sportstreasurestn.com. I would appreciate that. Support our sponsors. That's why we're here. Hit like and subscribe, and be sure and turn the notifications on. Sports Treasure is a great place to go for Christmas. You can absolutely stock up. So, John, we have determined that I think Tennessee's a better job than Oregon, but you're not so sure, right?
No, I'm talking about, I mean, I would rather be at Tennessee than Oregon. I'm just not sure Dan Lanning would.
Okay.
And also,
I mean,
he's not going to have to
Tennessee
fly as much. He's not
No,
going to have to fly as
I'm
much as you
just-
think, John.
It's what?
He won't have to fly out east as much as you think, because Oregon is going to now play USC, UCLA, and Washington for conference games every year now. So he's just staying out west for those games.
Yeah, well, that's a factor. I wouldn't want to, I don't like flying that much, so I probably, maybe it would be a bigger factor with me. No, I mean, I think Tennessee is a really good job. I'm just not sure. Here's the way. If Urban Meyer decided he was getting back into coaching, I mean, he only goes places where he knows he can win a national championship. And this strictly hypothetical. I don't think Urban Meyer's coming back into coaching. I would hire him immediately if he were. That's he's not for everybody though. But would Urban Meyer take the Tennessee job?
No, I'll say that outright. No.
I would too.
I think it would depend on how hungry he was to coach and what was available.
I'm just going to
Well,
say
I
this
think-
I was told he wanted the Texas job if things went south there.
Well, yeah, Texas, sure. I don't think he would take the Oregon job either.
Interesting.
Guys, in the modern era of college football, Tennessee has one national championship. Okay, and like that, you can say 51. That's not the modern era. Modern era to me is post-integration. Tennessee's got one national title. Clemson's a better job than Tennessee. They have 3 in the modern era. Tennessee's barely had more success than Texas A&M in the modern era. So it's
That's real encouraging to our audience, I bet. Caleb, thank you.
I deal with facts. Okay, Tennessee's you guys love to bring, like, not you guys, but Tennessee fans love to bring up the 2 national titles, all the wins, and General Nealon. 90% of Tennessee's success outside of a 4-year run from 95 to 98, Tennessee has largely been a program in mediocrity since 1970. I mean, largely. They have 3 SEC titles under majors, 2 by default because Florida was on probation, and then 1 that they had to share with Alabama and Auburn. So really, they only have 2 outright SEC titles since 1970, 97 and 98. That's it. Okay, we're really overrating this program.
I don't think so. I don't think we're overrating it given its facilities. I think it's been mismanaged. I would say that. John,
Well,
anything else you would like to offer?
Yeah, the facilities, I think, was a bigger advantage in the past than they are now because I think everybody has really good facilities. I think Tennessee's advantage is its regional location. And when I moved here in 87, I didn't think about that as much. I thought about in-state recruiting not being good. Yeah, and it's better now, but it's still not great compared to some other SEC competition. But what I like about Tennessee, it's very strategically located for regional recruiting. Look at all the places you can get to in a 4 or 5 hour drive from here. So I think that's an advantage Tennessee has over some programs.
Yeah. Just one last thing. Rocky Top Tom saying right now, Mississippi, Ole Miss is a better job than Tennessee. John,
Yeah, I disagree with that.
You've covered the.
I do too because of NIL money, and I know Ole Miss is a great lure for transfers. And I wonder if Ole Miss is putting a 4-year NIL budget all in on next year and spending and drawing these players. I don't know that, but I mean, we've often heard that Ole Miss doesn't have the kind of NIL money. I think that's something else in Tennessee's favor. It's got a really, really big NIL purse and it can attract players that way. And that's crucial now. I don't think I was told by somebody in the NIL business, there are only going to be 20 to 25 schools that eventually can compete for championships, or I should say, be competitive with NIL money. They're going to be able to spend the kind of money it takes to fund an NIL program. And I don't think Ole Miss is one of those programs. But right now, I don't think it's drawing all these recruits just because Lane Kiffin is a good offensive coach. Money has got to be changing hands here.
It's a lot easier to spend money when you come off a 10-win season. Tennessee.
There's also with Ole Miss, and it has more potential now than it used to. John, you weren't here, but Fred White admitted to us that he didn't even look at Ole Miss because he saw the movie Mississippi Burning. And I've said for a while that Ole Miss's open hostility to integration for a long time and their open embrace of the Confederacy probably hurt them with a lot of athletes they were trying to recruit for a long time.
Yeah, but Fred doesn't want to hear this, but he's an old timer now. So
ouch.
Oh,
the younger generation that isn't worried about the name Rebels.
Well, also they don't have the name anymore, so it's
they're the Land Sharks. Remember that from Saturday Night Live, John?
I think Ted would have. I mean, I think Fred would have been a good land shark. I think he would have liked that. I could see him making the land shark signal after a tackle. Definitely.